everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have a couple brief presentations today before we begin our business agenda. And our first order of business is a new recognition called the Friends of South Huntington, just to recognize some of the people who help us out through the year with selfless donations to make our school district such a rich place. And these people help us out so much and really adds so much to our district. And we would just want to show them a little token of our appreciation with a proclamation. So we have 5 honorees actually. I think only 3 are here today, but I'll read all of them because they all deserve recognition for what they do for our district. Our first one is Elliot Leonardo, and I'll just read his proclamation. Elliot Leonardo has shown his dedication and commitment to the South Huntington School District by serving on the South Huntington Educational Foundation, volunteering his time for the betterment of all students. For the past 2 years, Elliott Alumni has graciously funded the fireworks show for the South Huntington community to enjoy as part of our annual homecoming celebration, and has also donated portions of home sales back to the district as well. And so we want to give him a token of our appreciation. I'll have Mr. Leonardo come up to get his proclamation. Take a picture with you. All right. And then our next is also a local business owner, Mr. James Tomio, and as well as a Maplewood teacher. And James Tomio has helped out South Huntington immeasurably since he's opened Seasonal Scapes in East Northport by making generous donation of floral arrangements for many district events, including graduation. And in the fall of 2023, this is very up to date, James and Seasonal Scapes are donating plantings for the beautification of our new Art Gallery Plaza, and which those plantings should be installed very soon, as we're going to have a ribbon cutting this weekend for that. And then those will be some annual mums, and then he'll come back in the spring to do some perennials. And so this has really helped the district out. He's beautified it with flowers throughout the district, including at the entry areas to our elementary schools. So we'd like to thank James for his contributions to South Huntington as a friend of South Huntington. Thank you. All right. Our third friend is a friend we recognized before, and it's Reverend Saba of the Unity Church of Huntington. And he has been dedicated to South Huntington for the past 12 years, donating abundance of backpacks filled with school supplies for those less fortunate in our community and promoting success for all students. I don't believe Reverend Saba is here, but we want to thank him for his contributions and his continued support of our students. Thank you, Reverend. And our next friend of South Huntington is our South Huntington Public Library. Our South Huntington Public Library has shown dedication and commitment to our teaching staff by fostering continued professional development opportunities through continuing education courses, as well as making the library cards available to our teachers who live out of district. The library supports our students by providing community service opportunities for teens and rooms for student testing. And most recently, in the summer of 2023, the public library graciously offered to host our Summer Tutor Cats program, highlighting their dedication and commitment to student achievement and our South Huntington learning community. And so we want to thank the South Huntington Library for also being a friend of South Huntington. And I believe we have Janet Scherer, the director. Janet, come on down. Thank you very much. Thank you. And last but certainly not least has been an individual who is very, very generous to South Huntington, Michael Brown, the proprietor of the Empire Automotive Group, which is a very large and prestigious auto group. For the past 2 years, Mr. Brown has answered the call when we've needed him by graciously funding the majority of our fireworks shows for the South Huntington community to enjoy as part of our annual homecoming celebration. I don't believe he's here today, and he doesn't always need to be publicly recognized, but we should as well, because he's been a great friend to South Huntington and has been very generous with his money. So thank you, Mr. Brown. All right, well, it's the board to take a picture with our friends. All right, our South Huntington Public Library is obviously a great asset, and it's always wonderful to go in there. So clean and always looks like it was just built. So continue to patronize it. And for James Tomio, please patronize Seasonal Escapes in East Northport. It's a great new business. I get all my floral needs there. It's what I'm a big fan of flowers. So I have a lot of flowers, and they also have great wood carvings and stuff for the holidays as well. And Ms. Leonardo, Signature Premier Properties, for all your home needs. If you need to sell or buy a home, please consider him. He sold and helped me buy both of my homes. So I only have one, but he sold the other one. So thank you all. That's a public service announcement. All right. On to curriculum. Dr. Steele to give us the update on iReady and check out the progress of our K-8 students. Dr. Steele?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm happy to be able to share with you our iReady progress for the 22-23 school year. Just a brief summary of what our iReady diagnostic is and the kind of information that we get from the diagnostic. iReady is an adaptive assessment that adjusts to students' performance as they're taking the test. So if they get 3 consecutive questions correct as they're taking the test, the questions become a little more challenging. And if they get 3 consecutive questions incorrect, the level of questioning will become a little lessened for them. This gives teachers immediate feedback into students' needs that falls within the domains of iReady. So ELA has 5 domains for iReady, which is phonological awareness, phonics, vocabulary, comprehension, and high-frequency words. And for math, it has 4 domains, numbers and operations, measurement and data, geometry, and algebra and algebraic thinking. As mentioned, iReady measures growth, which is why we administer the exam 3 times a year, fall, winter, and spring. And this data is used by teachers to guide their classroom instruction as well as individualized instruction for specific students. The results of iReady fall into 5 placement levels. There is a 3 placement level option, but we choose to use the 5 placement level option because it gives us more details and more insight into our students' performance. Students that score within the mid or above or earlier on grade level placements, they fall into our Tier 1 category of students, and they benefit from instruction on grade level in the classroom. Students whose results demonstrate 1 grade level below, these are students that are approaching grade level expectations, and iReady recommends that they continue with on grade level instruction, but in the classroom with targeted instruction, usually falling within one of those domains where they are showing that they need some additional support. Students that fall 2 or more grade levels below will benefit from more intensified instruction, and these students usually benefit from our AIS programs. They may be in one of our ICT settings or our self-contained settings. So what did the data look like for our students in K through 2? For fall, from fall to spring in math. So as you can see, the percentages are all moving, or all did move in the right direction for our students. The percentages got higher in the Tier 1 area. There was some movement out of Tier 2 into Tier 1. And as the curriculum becomes a little more challenging, some students become more identified where they're identified for some more of that intensified support in the Tier 3 groups.
And Dr. Steele, as it says K, those are last year's kindergarten students then? Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
This is last year's data.
Okay.
And we saw similar movement within the reading scores for our students, again, highlighting that there is more movement into those Tier 1 categories, and coming out of Tier 2 into Tier 1 with some growth in the Tier 3, because again, as we move through the curriculum, students become more identified as needing needing some specialized instruction. Similar with intermediate grades, all moving in the right direction. Again, curriculum is becoming more challenging as we move through the grades. And similar movement with our reading scores. And Dr. Murphy is going to talk a little bit about 6th grade and the secondary scores.
Thank you, Dr. Steele. Everything's moving in the right direction. Would you say any lingering impacts of the pandemic, or what percentage do you think we're off still?
In certain grade levels, yes, I would say that we are still seeing impacts of the pandemic. But we're going to talk a little bit more after Dr. Murphy speaks to the middle school about what our plans are to address that and to address kids that are coming in.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Steele. As Mrs. Ciapetta said, and that's really where you're seeing at the middle school level, when Mrs. P asked about the effects of COVID, these students were in elementary when COVID was going on. We're still addressing some of the deficiencies. It also, as you transition at the elementary to when you go to middle school, 6, 7, and 8, you're looking at more of a secondary frame of mind. iReady, we used other assessments. iReady is not the only assessment, and you start to see not the same amount of growth as you would in the K to 5. In looking at our math scores, as you can see in 6th grade, they're still progressing. It also means there's a lot more uniformity in curriculum K through 6, where there's a different focus 7 and 8, when you're looking at regents and other types of state assessments and local assessments. But otherwise, you still see the growth, but not at the same levels. And we see in the 7th and 8th, which, as we mentioned before with COVID, we are still kind of trying to address some of the deficiencies, because when you're always behind, you're always trying to make that catch up. And we're doing that, but not at the same progression or the same levels as you would see in some of the other grade levels that weren't as affected. So as mentioned before, you can see that our mid or above grade level and early on, you continue to see climbs not at the same levels. And we look at our lower levels and our low levels of students, where we're really focusing our intensity in terms of giving them support, looking at AIS services, and being able to provide them the tools in order to keep making gains so that they can be on or above grade level. Same thing is for reading. As you look at Silas is obviously looking more at an elementary model. You see some of the similar growth that you saw K through 5 in our literacy and reading scores through iReady. Whereas 7 and 8, you start to see that there is either no gains or very little gains. And again, it's with multiple assessments. These are the grades that really were affected at the early grade levels by COVID. And we look to address, and this is where we identify and start to identify some of our students that get academic intervention services, added supports, and make sure that their literacy and math skills are moving in a positive trend. And as mentioned before, even when you get to 8th grade, you're looking at some of your more formalized assessments or your Regents, where a good number of our students take Regents exams starting in 8th grade, and that's more of a focus than the iReady benchmark assessments. Just to also give perspective, K through 8, we wanted to make sure now every student takes an iReady benchmark assessment. They're looked at their skill levels, but we have many subgroups within our student population that take these type of exams. And iReady kind of gives us an overall score saying this is a grade level, like this is how they are successful, either one early on or a one above grade level or even below grade level. When you look at some of our ELL and special education populations, it gives perspective that this is something we want everybody to pass, but it's also showing where we have to work with some of these subgroups within our whole student population to address some of the inconsistencies all through, especially at the middle school level. Dr. Steele?
Thank you, Dr. Murphy. So what are we doing? What do we do with this data, and how does this affect, the resources and strategies that we want to put in place for our K-8 instruction? Of course, we have the iReady data, but iReady is not the end-all, be-all for us. We have a list of assessments that we use. We have a list of protocols that teachers use. So in addition to iReady, benchmark assessments are in place where teachers administer a benchmark exam to listen to their students read 3 times a year to keep the data on their reading levels current. We have unit assessments throughout our math units. We have formal and informal classroom assessments that are given throughout the year, which includes projects, presentations, and classroom observations. We are implementing a STAR assessment this year that will be used by our AIS teachers, and that's another form of progress monitoring for students that are in that program. The Sunday assessment system is another resource used for students that are in our special education program, yet another way to progress monitor those students. And this is, of course, in addition to the New York State Regents exams and the New York State assessment exams, the information that we get from those tests. And how do we support teachers? Continued professional development. Ready Mathematics was implemented in grade 6 this year, so we have lined up professional development throughout the year for those teachers. We are piloting a phonics program in our kindergarten classes, and this was in response to the data showing us that our students needed some help in the area of phonics. So Heggerty is a program that is used supplemental to our Foundations program, and so far we're getting positive feedback from teachers in the data that they're seeing already with using the Heggerty program for phonics. And we are excited to report out that we are investigating research-based programs. There are a lot of research out there and a lot of talk right now about the science of reading. And there's a lot of discussion about whether or not science of reading is a philosophy or not. But one thing we can tell you it's not a program, but what it is a scientifically research-based pool of information that a lot of districts, a lot of committees and communities are looking into, which can better serve ways to teach our kids how to read. And what it does is really encompasses areas of psychology, education, special education, developmental psychology, neuroscience, linguistics. It's really a well-balanced research based, I don't want to say philosophy, but research-based pool of information that we can go to. And we're looking at programs that really emphasize the science of reading, not just because it's the catchphrase now, but really because it seems like it's going to support what our kids need most. And this is going to be done in conjunction with everything that we're doing to align our curriculum K-8. And the alignment of our curriculum will only better prepare our students for the secondary level, but will also help us identify early on strengths and weaknesses of our kids that will better prepare them for success in high school. So, any questions on anything that we just presented to you?
Yes, I have a question for you, Dr. Steele. With the phonics pilot program, you said that it addressed the need of phonics specifically in kindergarten. Mm-hmm. Can that be implemented in the other grades as they go up, or is it strictly a program that addresses the need in kindergarten and you move to other programs? Because if the teachers like it and it's working well, I guess I was going to ask the obvious question would be, can that follow them up the grade levels, or does it kind of end after kindergarten?
It's a primary program. So our goal is, if we continue to get this positive feedback, we can definitely move that into first grade next year. However, we want to, as we continue to research programs K-6, we want to make sure that we're not, piling too much on. So if we find that Heggerty is the way to go and we're getting positive feedback, then maybe that's the way we go for K-1, and then look at something else for 2 through 6. But what we're really looking at is what's going to best address the needs of our specific students. But yes, to answer your question, that can move up through the primary grades.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions for the board for Dr. Steele or Dr. Murphy? All right, great. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. All right, we'll move right along to our business agenda. Take a motion to adopt the agenda. Mr. Joyner, seconded by Ms. Meyer. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Items E through F require one resolution for adoption. There are no bids for this meeting. Motion? Ms. LaCara, seconded by Mr. Bronson. Any questions on E through H? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to new business. We have 17 items of new business today, so quite a bit. New business item number 1 is the adoption of the risk assessment report along with the corrective action plan. Is there a motion? Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Mr. Bronson, would you like to tell us about this report?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. So, Mr. Biangasso and I met with our audit committee back in October. If you remember at our last meeting, we had our external auditors, Ars Abrams, appear to present the external audit report. At that same meeting back in October, we also had our internal auditors, Naraki and Smith, present our annual risk assessment. That risk assessment covers over 90 different items in the district. I'm pleased to report that overall our rating was a low risk assessment. There's 3 levels, low, medium, and high. So overall low is excellent. There were a couple of areas where they had recommended some action plans, and my colleague Mr. Conway is going to cover that aspect of it.
Thank you, Mr. Brunson. So tonight for the board approval is the annual risk assessment and the corrective action plan as well. As Mr. Brunson stated, this was previously reviewed in quite detail in the audit committee. I'd also like to thank Naraki and Smith for their continued cooperation with the district in assisting us to strive for areas of improvement throughout this process. Overall, in conclusion, there were 3 relatively minor corrective action items for us to address. 1 has already been completed, 1 will be completed this week, and the final one, should be completed by the agreed upon date, which is June 30th.
And I see a recommendation to post the reports on the district's website. Where do you find those
That's
on there?
already been done, and tonight's will be updated tomorrow after the
Okay.
approval. It's under the Office of Business section,
Okay.
and then you'll see there's a whole series of reports such as financial statements, corrective action plans, both internal
Okay.
and external, they're all there.
Okay. Mr. Bronson, anything
So I
else?
was going to say, so the board has that available for approval this evening, and again, as mentioned, it is also going to be posted on our public website, available for the public to review as well. So
Okay.
I would ask the board to approve the risk assessment report.
Great. Any questions for Mr. Bronson or Mr. Conway? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. New business item number 2 is the approval of the general fund balance for publication motion. Mr. Biangasso, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Mr. Conway?
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. As Mr. Brunson just mentioned, at last month's board meeting, the year-end audited financial statements were approved. Tonight for your approval is the request to publish that year-end fund balance in our local paper record, the Long Islander.
Okay. Questions on that? All in favor? Any opposed? Just want to mention at this point, the audit committee is looking for a new resident member. Mr. Bronson, you want to say anything about that?
Sure, no, thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. So we are looking for a new resident member. Unfortunately, with the passing of Mr. Caden, we are looking for at least 1 additional community member. You do not, interestingly, you do not need to be a member of the community to sit on our audit committee board. We typically meet about every other month on average, and I would say for those of you that are listening, we run a very efficient meeting. I know some meetings can drag on and on. No offense to any of those, but we typically have a very efficient meeting. So typically your commitment is typically an hour or less. Again, about every other month. So I would encourage individuals, that's particularly those that have a financial background or an interest in numbers, to just apply. Mr. Biangasso and I will be going through all submitted resumes. We'll conduct some interviews, and then hopefully have a selection made probably by the beginning of the new calendar year.
Thank you, Mr. Bronson. I believe Mr. Bronson was referring to the facilities committee meetings. They tend to go a little long. Moving on to new business item number 3, appointment of the deputy treasurer. Is there a motion? Ms. Meyer, seconded by Mr. Joyner. Mr. Conway?
Okay, thank you again. Tonight for the board is the request to appoint a newer internal auditor, Mr. Steven Slihogios, as the deputy treasurer, which the role would be to serve just upon the unavailability of the current treasurer, Christine Rapp, for the remainder of this school year. This would replace me in the role of deputy treasurer, as Mr. Slihogios was not an employee of the district at the reorganization meeting back in July.
Questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Congratulations. All right, new business. Item 4 is a request to remain in South Huntington. Motion. Mr. Scraggs, seconded by Ms. LaCara. This is an item that was discussed in executive session. All in favor of allowing the student to remain in South Huntington? All opposed? Okay. Resolution fails, 0-7. Moving on to new business, item number 5 is the approval of a donation of backpacks and school supplies from Love and Care USA. Motion. Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Dr. D'Elia?
Yes, Love and Care is a nonprofit organization, and they have generously decided, with the board's blessing, to donate string bags, school supplies consisting of notebooks, stationery, pencils, sharpeners, with an approximate value of $1,000.
Excellent, very nice. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, another friend of South Huntington. New business item number 6 is the approval of a memorandum of agreement with the Office Staff Association. Is there a motion? Mr. Scraggs, seconded by Mr. Bronson. Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. For the board's approval is this memorandum of agreement with our Office Staff Association. The agreement speaks to a 5-year contract with fair wage increases over the life of that contract. It also provides for additional vacation time over the December break for all 12-month employees.
Great. Any questions on this? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to new business item number 7, agreement with the United Public Service Employees Union. Motion. Mr. Biangassi, seconded by Mr. Bronson. Mr. Smith again.
All right, thank you. For the board's approval is this memorandum of agreement with UPSEU, which guarantees all school bus drivers a 6-hour package. What we're really trying to do is make our district more attractive when recruiting drivers, but also retaining them as well.
Okay, great. And as we all know, there's a huge bus driver shortage crisis nationwide, and we're hoping that this is going to help us continue to retain and recruit. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, resolution is adopted. New business item number 8, 9, and 10 are all resolutions to approve special education agreements called District of Location Agreements between South Huntington School District and another district. They're broken up just because the ones in 8 are similar, the ones in 9 are similar, and then 10 is kind of the standard agreement. So 8 and 9 have a little different language. Is there a motion? Mr. Biangassi, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Any questions on item 8? Those are District of Location Agreements with Santa Mauritius and Islip. All in favor? Any opposed? And these are situations where a student resides in another district but is parentally placed by their parent in our district, and the resolution and the agreement govern the responsibilities for that, who's going to prepare the IEP and cost reimbursement. Item number 9, approval of agreements with Comac and Smithtown. Motion. Mr. Joyner, seconded by Ms. Meyer. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? And item number 10, approval of 2023-2024 special education agreements with many school districts listed there. I won't read them all, from Amityville all the way to Wyandanch. Motion. Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Biangassi. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Moving on to new business, item 11 is the approval of an annual scholarship. Is there a motion? Ms. Meyer, seconded by Mr. Joyner. Dr. D'Elia.
Yes, this is a monetary scholarship, which is in the memory of Daniel Davis. He was a 2006 Walt Whitman High School graduate who passed away at the early age, passed away in 2020 at the early age of 31.
Oh, very sad. Thank you. And any questions on the scholarship? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Moving on to new business, item 12 is the approval of out-of-state and overnight field trips. Is there a motion? Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Dr. Murphy.
Yes, this is the cheerleaders, varsity cheerleaders annual field trip. It's actually in 2 parts. The first is to Pennsylvania, where they will compete over a weekend during the month of December. Upon their completion of that, and if they are successful, They would then go to their overnight field trip in Orlando, Florida from February 7th to February 12th, where they would compete at the national championships. Just to give perspective, we've always made it to the national championships every year, so I don't think that this will be a year we're off.
Great. Good. All right.
I'm very confident about it.
And usually go to that, right?
Mr. Barth and I love to take the 6 a.m. flight and come back at 5 p.m. on the same day.
And what about the Mohegan Sun one? Are you going there?
We will see.
If you did, let me know. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to new business. Item 13 is the approval of revenue from Auctions International. Motion. Mr. Scragg, seconded by Mr. Biangasso. Mr. Conway.
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. As approved by the board a few weeks back, we had the permission to authorize auction off and dispose of items that were deemed obsolete by the district. Tonight, I'm happy to report that we've received just over $41,000 from the sale of those items through Auctions International. Tonight, we're looking for the board's approval to accept that as revenue into the general fund for the current school year.
Oh, excellent. Nice revenue. Questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Conway, for overseeing that and bring in very nice money. Moving on to item 14 is the approval of confidentiality and data security agreement. Motion. Mr. Biangasso, seconded by Mr. Bronson. Dr. Steele.
Yes, we have an agreement from Class Act Photographers. They, of course, have access to our student data for yearbooks and portraits and so on. So they've agreed to keep our students' information secure.
Great. Thank you. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? And item 15 is the approval of South Huntington employees to chair the CSE and CPSE meetings for the current school year. Motion. Ms. LaCara, seconded by Mr. Bronson. Dr. Fulton.
Yeah, so this is something that we typically would do at our reorg meeting, but due to shifting changes in our staffing and some retraining of staff, we would like to have these 3 individuals approved to be able to chair CSE subcommittees and CPSE meetings as necessary.
Okay. Questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Moving on to new business, item number 16 is the approval for a board member to attend the National School Board Association's Annual Advocacy Institute in Washington, D.C. Is there a motion? Mr. Biangasso, seconded by Mr. Bronson. Any questions? This is always a worthwhile program. I think it used to be attended by Mr. Nikowitz, and Mr. Jordan would like to go this year. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? And last but not least are the recommendations of the placements of students by the committees on special education and preschool special education, dates listed in September, October, and November. Motion. Ms. Meyer, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Personnel. We have personnel schedules 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 20, and 22. Is there a motion? Mr. Scragg, seconded by Ms. LaCara and Mr. Bronson. Any questions? All in favor? All right. And on the personnel schedules, we have 2 significant announcements and appointments. And so, first one is we have a new high school principal. And we didn't have to look far for it. It is going to be Dr. John Murphy. I want to congratulate Dr. Murphy on, I guess, his new old position. And you've been doing 2 jobs throughout the year and doing both spectacularly. And now you'll be doing 1 full-time. And we thank you for doing those roles and for the wonderful job we know you're going to continue to do at the high school, and I think things are looking good there, so thank you. And just in terms of Dr. Murphy's position as assistant superintendent, Dr. Lee, you want to talk about the next steps there?
Sure. We will be sending out a parent square tomorrow to the community notifying them that we now have a long-term principal at the high school. And we're all excited about that. But as Dr. Murphy, Ms. Nacia mentioned, he wears numerous hats. So the hat for assistant superintendent for secondary education, it will be advertised starting tomorrow. We'll be looking to fill that role, hopefully by the new year, and that's where we're going to go.
Great. And a second appointment is Dr. Christine Val, who is going to be our new chairperson for elementary special education. Dr. Val? She's someone who's also familiar to South Huntington and has been with the district since September of 2006 in various roles, first as CPSE chair and school psychologist, then as a behavioral specialist for Oakwood and Maplewood, and most recently in Oakwood as school psychologist. So would you like to say anything?
Sure. I'd like to say thank you to the board and the cabinet for this opportunity. Having been a part of this district for the past 17 years, it's really been a privilege. And I look forward to continuing to be a part of the great work of this company.
Great. Thank you. Congratulations. Information and reports are listed. Committee reports. The Facilities Committee will hold their next meeting on November 28th. Will not be too short, I don't think. And then Curriculum Council met on October 26th. Dr. Murphy, would you like to give the report?
Yes. So our curriculum council met last month. We had a lot of topics, things that we continued over from the year before, things that we're continuing for the current year. Some of the things we spoke about was our plagiarism policy. We actually don't have one in the district to look at. It's something that we were identifying as a curriculum council to really, especially with AI and the emergence of AI, it's something that we really wanted to kind of sink our teeth into to make sure that all our grade levels, all our teachers are very much aware of how we're going to deal and address with plagiarism, especially in the 21st century. We talked about our eligibility policy, obviously over the summer, and at the end of last year we had our eligibility policy and how that's taken effect. Speaking with Mr. Bart, the coaches, and at the high school level, it's actually had a very positive effect. We have a lot of our, not just our students that are struggling academically, but all students are participating in this, and it's really keeping the rising tide lifts all boats. So even our most studious students are doing well, and their attendance has improved. Because of the eligibility policy and the attendance policies, we've seen a rise at the high school of 20% decrease in attendance issues and lates just in the first quarter. So these are things that we talked about. The other thing that we discussed was our instructional rounds, especially at Silaswood. They just had their visit, and we'll be continuing to talk about that at this month's Curriculum Council. Dr. Steele talked about the DEI committee and the formation of it and what the goals are for that committee this year. And last but certainly not least was Dr. Steele talking about the ELA curriculum, where we're trying where she just recently talked about the science of reading, and looking at to make sure that all grade levels K through 6 are uniform and that they're working towards a common goal.
And I see the report mentions ChatGPT. I mean, do you view that as a tool that can be regulated or something that's problematic?
It has to be regulated because it's not going anywhere. So really what we as educators have to do is how does this work in the confines of education? Because it's not something the genie's out of that bottle, so how do we work it to our benefit? We've recently been using that in some of our nature of language classes and English classes. We've opened it with Ms. Rice to, obviously very limited and for short time periods, because I don't want all of a sudden a student in their research writing a 10-page paper with ChatGPT, but how do teachers address that and what are the inconsistencies, or how do we use it for the good in all our classes, and how can you use ChatGPT, a student, and how do you transform that and make you a better writer? So there's some things that we're working on as a team and as a department within departments and as a school to make sure that we're ahead of the times rather than just trying to catch up with the times.
Great, thank you. Questions for Dr. Murphy? Thank you. Congratulations once again, and I know in addition, you take on other roles. You've got the rebranding committee going on, alumni relations, and also are planning our 100-year anniversary celebrations and activities. So thank you for all those roles.
Thank you. I wash windows too.
All right. Comments by board members. Ms. Meyer.
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta, and it's not listed, but I did briefly want to give an update on the Health and Wellness Committee, as we've met twice so far this year. First meeting was on October 11th, and we also met this evening prior to executive session. We're very pleased that membership of the committee has grown this year. Jaren is part of our committee now as well as Dr. McCallion, and Liz Del Monte, who joined for the second half of last year, and Ms. Madison Skelton, who is one of our district-wide social workers and leading SEL. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Fulton for a more detailed update as well, who is chairing the committee with Mr. Scragg and myself. But just briefly, we went over the Panorama education results from 22-23. Panorama is the diagnostic tool, or really survey tool, that we use around social emotional learning in the district to help identify areas where we might need to lean in a little bit more. And one of the areas of focus is how to get student completion higher at some of the older grade levels. So that's in the field, and we're hoping to see that. We talked about the implementation of some of the social emotional curriculum like Second Step. We talked about the implementation of a new program for student athlete mental health that Ms. Skelton and Mr. Barth are pursuing, so more to come on that. We also talked a little bit about World Kindness Day and planning for Mental Health Day and Mental Health Month later in the year. So there's lots of great things happening in the Wellness Committee. Dr. Fulton, is there anything else that you wanted to add?
No, just that we're very, very excited for the work that's going to be done by this committee, and we're very pleased with everybody and their contributions. And if there's anything that you or community or anybody who is a district employee can think about and share with us that maybe you want to see us kind of tailor this towards, we're more than willing to listen. We really want the focus to be on helping our school community really become a better and healthier and happier environment. So we're always willing to listen, and there are tremendous resources out there. We'll post information on the website, but we're always open to new ideas.
To that, we just want to remind the community to look out for the messages that do go out via Parent Square with webinar opportunities from our Northwell Health Behavioral Partnership. There are lots of great topics coming up around school avoidance, how to deal with stress as a family, especially with the upcoming holidays. So please tune in for those. And it's not only about social, emotional, and mental health on the Wellness Committee. Ms. Busey also shared this evening that there are new fresh vending machines going in Silas Simpson and Whitman. So this will give our students options for refrigerated foods, such as yogurts, parfaits, and other healthy snacks, as opposed to your typical vending machine fare. And then also from a physical education and athletics perspective, not necessarily part of our committee agenda, but I just want to congratulate all the students that had a tremendous fall season. I know we had lots of playoff athletes from field hockey, soccer, football, diving, swimming, I think you name it, and we made it to some kind of playoff, which is fantastic. And this evening we also had a student, Eric Maldonado, who was recognized to the Suffolk County High School soccer all-star team, and he's representing Whitman this evening, so good luck to him.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Brown.
And also congratulations to the successful team at the Maplewood Bowl. That was a really, really fun night, and I know. Please, Miss Cassio carried you all, okay? And I know that Birchwood also had their volleyball game recently, which I didn't get to attend, but looked like it was a ton of fun. And then just a congratulations to all the elementary buildings and middle school buildings that had lots of trunk or treats and fall festivals and dances, and provided a really safe and fun opportunity for our students to get together and our community to get together in late October.
Great, thank you so much. And you gave me an opportunity to brag as I scored the winning touchdown on a well-designed reverse play. And as I sped down the sideline, it was very close to being caught, but right outside the reach.
May have been purposeful. I don't know.
All right. Comments by board members? Yes, Mr. Bronson.
I just wanted to briefly just wish everybody a very happy and healthy Thanksgiving. That's going to come up before our next board meeting. So however you choose to celebrate it, I wish everyone the best, and again, much happiness and healthiness.
Thank you, Mr. Bronson. Other comments? All right. Dr. D'Elia, you're up.
Sure. This past Monday, the Blue Ribbon Commission came out with recommendations for a high school graduation, and I don't think it's any time soon. It looks like it's a few years off, and I'll let Dr. Murphy dive a little deeper. into it. But the general feeling was that they are recommending multiple pathways towards a Regents diploma, not just taking the Regents assessment in January or June. They're looking at project-based opportunities for students. So those recommendations will be going to the Regents and the Chancellor and Dr. Murphy. I don't know if you had anything else to add.
Thank you, Dr. Dalia. I guess the biggest thing is that we've always prided in you, as we've reported to the board, is that we always have a Regents and Advanced Regents diploma and local diploma. There will no longer be designations of diploma as what, now again, these are recommendations. These haven't been approved by the New York State Department of Education yet or the commissioner. But these recommendations say that it's one diploma with different, as we've started to see, seals that each diploma will get: a seal of biliteracy, a seal of civic engagement, a seal of mastery in math and other core subjects, but everyone will get the same diploma no matter what. The other thing that, as Dr. Dalia said, there was some concern, especially in Long Island or in New York in general, is Regents play a heavy part in our graduation, but it also plays a heavy part in our college success and our college acceptance rates. So there was a fear that Regents would be removed completely. It seems that the recommendations is that Regents will not be removed, but there will be different pathways, such as extenuating circumstance where Regents can be waived, project-based learning, or some other types of local assessments that will allow some of our more struggling populations, such as special education, ENL, that they were able to get or achieve a Regents diploma and not be for fear of being a high school dropout. So there are a couple things. Again, it's a couple of years off, but we will get more information as the school education department, the New York State Education Department, looks at these recommendations and makes them actual law within our educational law.
Now, they've been meeting for about a year and a half, so I would think that, all these educators, teachers, administrators from around the state, I think these recommendations, in my opinion, are probably going to be approved, like the major ones. But like I said, we're a few years off, so that's just an update there. Just also want to talk about the Halloween parades. Finally, at all 4 elementary schools, we now have Halloween parades. We've come a long way. So I know the students absolutely love them, and the teachers did a great job too, participating and making it fun for all our students. So thank you for all of that. All the food collections going on by student council, doing their civic responsibility here is well appreciated. Winter Wonderland, there'll be some more information going out on it very shortly, but it is November 26th, Sunday of Thanksgiving week, and it's 12:30 to 4:30. And we have a lot of wonderful activities again there, so we're hoping for great weather. It's rain or shine. It's always a better Wonderland when it doesn't rain. So we are definitely absolutely looking forward to it, and we have a lot of people working on this and working really hard, students as well. And also, for all you Yankee fans, we have a date now for the Yankees to play on June 25th. They're playing at a place called Citi Field, but we will have 500 tickets available for that game. So our annual game that gets sold out in about a month.
Yeah,
So
you did great on that.
we secured our date. And that is my report. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Dalia. A couple comments of my own, actually 3. First, I want to remind everyone that the annual Fine Arts and Crafts Fair will be held this Saturday, November 18th at Walt High School from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So you can do all of your shopping needs there. Always wonderful handcrafted items there, and also good food. This year is particularly special in that it will serve as the official opening for the Walden High School Art Gallery, a project that has been in the works for 20 years, literally 20 years, and which was largely funded through the Fine Arts and Crafts Fair run by Vicki Dolan. And she's been raising money for 20 years for the art gallery, and she'll finally get to see her dream come to fruition. So it'll be a special moment. Any board member that would like to attend, it'll be 9 a.m. the ribbon cutting at the high school. Also, we received news actually on the National Suffolk School Boards Association. There is a committee, including the executive director, who serves as a member, studying changes to foundation aid, and they expect to make some recommendations this year on some low-hanging fruit, which hopefully would be adopted by the state legislature in time, though this is going to be a multi-year project. They're hoping to look in bringing a lot of different factors into the formula that have kind of been ignored. And we also got a report at National Suffolk School Boards Association. The state is in the fiscal hole of $4 billion, so we'll see what that means for our state aid, though that actually number has improved a little bit over what they were expecting, but still the mid-year receipts are not looking very good. And the last update, which will segue into comments by ex officio student board member, was an opportunity to watch the Walman High School drama, Don't Drink the Water, which was fantastic. And it starred our own Jaren, who did a fantastic job. It was hilarious. So great job. It was very entertaining. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and you did a great job.
Thank you.
Over to you.
Good evening, everyone. As it was said by some board members before, I just wanted to first wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. This week, my ideal is to be thankful. I want to express my thanks here tonight. Some of you here are teachers, even teachers I've had myself, administrators, board members, support staff, and community members who are all so involved and invested in our wonderful school district. As I always say, it takes a village, and our village is certainly tremendous. So thank you to everyone here. I'm thankful to you all. I'm also thankful to my wonderful school district and everyone that makes it so special. Last week I had the opportunity to meet with Mr. Duggan and the students, staff, and parents of the Stimson SBM team to get a feel of what's going on at the middle school. I first want to highlight that Mr. Duggan certainly runs that place like a well-oiled machine. He runs a tight ship, but definitely makes sure those students have plenty of opportunities to connect with the school, to connect with one another, and to have some fun along the way, which I think is very important. Some of the highlights that some students mentioned are that they love all the new clubs and extracurricular activities that Mr. Duggan has brought to Stimson, and they hope that those programs continue to grow, especially with now that we have late busing there. It has made students schedules much easier to be able to go to an extracurricular activity and be more invested in their school. Also, as some of you might know, Stimson has transitioned to a no backpack model. This pushes students to go to their lockers, as they can only use a small string bag for their small materials that they need for their few periods, and then go back to their locker again. They seem to be adapting great to this. They actually told me they love it, which I think is great. And this also eliminates tripping hazards in the classrooms and back problems, because as Mr. Duggan likes to say, it's a problem when the backpack is bigger than the student. So on all fronts, that's a very positive thing. Additionally, the students would like to see that model continue as they move into the high school, and I was talking to Dr. Murphy about this, so that's definitely a discussion that will need to be had, and whether it's possible, if it's feasible, to be able to transition that also into the high school. After that, I then transitioned into some things that they would like to see be added or improved in Stimson, as everything in this world is always, there's always room for improvement. My biggest takeaway from that was the lack of lunchtime. Currently, students both in 7th and 8th grade only have about 20 to 22 minutes to eat. They have packed schedules, so there is no other way to give them the full 40 minutes to eat. So that is also something that I would like to look into as well. I also want to thank Mr. Duggan for inviting me to Stimson, and I plan on meeting with Stimson's SBM team once a month. Finally, in a meeting with Dr. Murphy this week, we were talking about ways we can give back as a school and a community to what's going on in Gaza and Israel. My thought was that we could do a fundraiser through music and song. We could record a song featuring many of our high school students, teachers, and administrators, and we would raise money and donate that to UNICEF, which uses money to help all children in need who are unfortunately affected by this horrible war. I will update everyone on the process as we continue to progress in that project. Once again, I thank all of you for your time. May you all have a healthy and happy Thanksgiving. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Great job. All right. Boys voice of the residents. Residents like to address the Board of Education? All right. I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving as well. Much to be thankful for. I know there's always difficult times in the world, but seeing our students and the success that they're having and this wonderful community that we all live in gives us great hope. So I wish everyone a happy and healthy Thanksgiving and good times with family, friends, football, and turkey. So I'll take a motion then to go into executive session to discuss collective bargaining agreements. Motion. Ms. McKellick-Harris, seconded by Mr. Bronson. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you all. Happy Thanksgiving.